Alex Alexander, welcome back to the
Ginger.
show.
Absolutely happy to be here. Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely. The last time you were here just for yourself was after your performance with the Broadway show Rectopia.
That's right.
Yes.
We had just finished at the Broadway Theater. And then I've just started doing session work. And then right after that, COVID hit in 2020 and changed all our lives.
Isn't that something?
Incredible.
Well,
Nobody ever predicted this was going to happen to us.
Something once in 100 years.
Yes. And as you know, for musicians, it's especially hard because that means we had to be at home and we couldn't go out. We couldn't go out and perform. So it changed everything for us.
What did you do? What did you do in the meantime?
You know, I remember March, the beginning of March, they told us that we had to stay home. And I just decided, okay, this is kind of like the war of our times. You know, we have to just go into like a military isolation. So I didn't see anyone until the end of July.
It's a few months.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me, stay home.
Yeah.
And I did. And the only thing that I did was walk around the block, pick up some coffee at McDonald's, and walk back home.
Yeah.
My diet was mac and cheese and wine for 2 weeks, and I gained like 20 pounds. I was like, okay, we got to stop this, you know.
And did you see anybody in your walk? There was nobody on the streets, right?
Nobody else.
Nobody. I remember I started going out at the end of July. I started going out just for walks, and I would go to Central Park at 6 a.m. And it was beautiful because Central Park had grown in. They hadn't been trimming the plants or keeping it.
Yeah.
So it was a jungle, and I took some fantastic
I remember
pictures.
seeing, I follow you on social media,
Yeah.
Alex Alexander.
Thank you for that.
Yes, and you have great photos, not only of
Thank you.
Central Park, but from around the world that we'll talk a little bit about a little bit later. But
Thank you.
yeah, but wow, COVID was pretty serious.
It was very serious. I didn't see my family for several months. And then I decided, I don't know how long this is going to last. I don't know if this is the new normal. So I started building a home studio where I could somehow keep working while being at home. So I brought in some drums and I got some microphones, and I already had a kind of a studio, but I needed something that I could bring in and play percussion and drums set at home.
Because you're a drummer, percussionist, and a producer.
Right.
Right. So you work with a
Right.
variety of artists and, you know, producers themselves that bring
Right.
you in on projects.
Yeah,
So
and you know, luckily I had learned about engineering and producing. I worked mostly in Logic Pro on the computer. So it was all rather easy. It was something that I planned to do in the future, but didn't get to it, and then because of COVID, I had all
to
the
jump
time.
on it. I
in the
know
world.
for myself, you know, I'm a CPA, so I am generally out at clients' offices, but I wanted to build up my remote practice, and I had to upgrade my computer system and printer scanner, and I said, you know, you got to get this upgraded, and it cost about $3,000-4,000 in order to do it, but I did it in January 2020. I waited for the new year to start, you know,
Wow.
so all the new equipment and software would be out, and I got all set up right before COVID hit, and then all the machines and equipment were sold out, you know.
Wow, it's perfect timing
Oh
for
my
you to do it.
goodness. And I made an easy transition myself,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But you know, you had to have those skills in place
That's right.
and the plan.
That's right. And it takes time. I've been doing Logic for 20 years, so I already had that knowledge. And then I saw people trying to do the same thing, and people trying to set up studios in their home and trying to transition from performing live to recording at home and having people hire them for projects and send them songs. People would send me songs with a click track and then ask me to play to it, and we'd have to discuss the artistic vision that they wanted to go in and the general production values that they wanted to do. And so it started a whole thing, another thing that I hadn't been doing really before.
I've been noticing a lot of vocalists are establishing home studios so that they can do voiceover work. So
Right.
it's something similar, but for
Yes,
percussion.
Absolutely, absolutely. And a lot of people have been doing voiceover work from home for years now. but now was the time for musicians to join that. You know, fortunately, since then, shows have opened up and people are touring again, and everybody's gung-ho to go touring. But it took a long time. A lot of people got sick along the way.
Oh yeah, we lost a lot of people too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had I Love Rock and Roll, Alan Merrill. He was
Right.
the writer of that song. He
That's
was
right.
like the first celebrities. I almost went out to see him on a March 8th too, and I said, you know, this wave of COVID that's coming in, I don't know. Maybe I'll catch him at the next show.
I almost went to that same show.
And everybody got COVID that night.
Everybody got COVID that
And
night.
he died 2 weeks later.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, sad.
It's so very sad. He was a great musician,
Oh my gosh,
great
yes.
songwriter.
What a loss.
Yeah,
What a loss for all of us.
yeah. And there have been quite a few people along the way in the past 3 years. I've seen quite a few people get sick. Some passed away, some didn't, some recovered. I had friends who got very, very sick after COVID and ended up with symptoms that are not COVID-like. Like it affected their nervous system. It affected their health.
You
in
mean,
general.
I'm sorry, you said that people got sick after COVID. With COVID or with another disease that...
They got COVID and then ended up with symptoms that had something to do with something else in their body.
Got it.
Like a nervous system.
Like
or-
COVID weakened them up in
yes,
an area. Is
exactly.
that what you're saying?
And they're still recovering.
Yeah, long COVID. or
Long, yes.
symptoms of long COVID,
Yes.
or it branched off into, I read where that it's going to be considered a pre-existing condition, you know,
Really? I didn't know that. Wow.
because you don't know how it's attacking the body or
Yeah.
working on it.
I was very, very lucky that I never got it.
I was just going to ask you if you had COVID.
No.
I never got it either.
Yeah,
Knock on wood.
absolutely.
My mom didn't either. She'll be 94 in October, and if people could isolate by themselves, you know, they had a better chance. But a lot of people can't do that, you know, especially if they have small children.
Yeah.
You know, things.
We were all worried. I was worried about my mom and
Yeah.
my sister and my niece. And we never knew who was going to get sick and have it change their lives, change all our lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty frightening. Pretty frightening. And then some people got it, and it was like a cold, and then they
Yep.
moved on, and then they dismissed it after that. They didn't think
Yeah.
it was that serious. But you know, it's so random with people, so you don't know. You just have to take the. So we're kind of past COVID now for the most part. I mean, it's still out there, but
Yeah.
we're able to walk around and be social again.
Absolutely.
I had to learn new social skills.
I've been doing a lot of traveling, so I still try to wear a mask
Okay.
whenever possible, especially on planes.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to Italy to do some work, and that was I had apprehensions of that, but actually COVID had gone through there and been long gone, so there was no signs of any COVID there. People were working, everything was fine.
Because COVID really hit them
It
early
really
on.
hit Italy, yes. I ended up, after doing some work, taking a vacation on the Amalfi Coast, which I had never been to before. And I also went to Pompeii and Naples. Naples was a bit crazy. I didn't realize that Naples is quite as crazy as what New York used to be. Like it was definitely hardcore. A lot of energy, especially at night in the clubs. And the Naples was like really storming when I was there. But Amalfi Coast was much more sleepy, vacation place. And I did a bit of hiking up in the mountains. It was beautiful. It was really beautiful.
Well, that's wonderful. We do have some shows, we do have some photos
Okay.
of your travels. Do you want to talk about that now?
Sure.
Sure.
What do you got? Let's see what you got. Oh, yes, this is with El Jury. I've been doing quite a bit of touring with El Jury.
I adore her. Boy, she's great. Thanks for bringing her in as a
Absolutely.
guest.
That's Cecilia on the left, Winston Roy on the right, and yours truly in the back. And we actually played here in New York City at the Riverside Park, which was a great show. And I just got back from Holland. We played in
Oh, how
Holland together.
fabulous. How fabulous.
Yeah.
That's great.
This is another shot with El Jury. This is us in Holland. No, sorry. This is us in Mexico. We did a show in Mexico.
Good for you.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun, and she's always well received in Mexico. This is the Grand Hotel in Mexico City, which is a beautiful place. We love to go. And there's a fantastic view of the city square. A lot of political marches are done there.
Oh,
And
interesting.
that hotel is just a fantastic place to visit.
Wow, beautiful. Stained glass windows.
This is Thousand Islands in Canada. I did some work in Toronto and then ended up going to the Thousand Islands, which I had never been to. It's, I don't know if you know, but it's actually 1,000 tiny little islands, and some people live there. And this guy had built a castle for his wife
Oh my.
on an island, completely independent. And unfortunately, she passed away
Before it was completed?
before it was completed.
Oh, wow.
And the day that she passed away, he didn't finish it. It was all pretty much finished. And he just said, I'm never coming back here again.
Oh,
they
that's too
turned
bad.
it into a museum.
Oh, isn't that interesting? It reminds
Yeah.
me kind of the Bannerman Castle upstate, you know?
Yes, yes.
It's pretty amazing. It's beautiful.
This is me doing a bit of
So you're touring around the world. And
kayaking.
well,
I
it's
had
nice to
to
know that
do-
you have some time off.
I had to do some kayaking in between the Thousand Islands. It was really beautiful, a bit chilly, but a great, very fresh air, great thing to do. I love nature. This is in Italy, a tiny little town called Monte Chiaro, and I was staying at this house with a fantastic view of the whole Amalfi Coast. It was very beautiful. We had astounding sunsets and sunrises every day. And then one night, a huge hurricane wind came up from Africa and attacked this cliff where I was staying. And it
While you
was
were there?
thunderstorming, and the house was shaking, the mountain was shaking, the shutters were shaking, the power went out. And
Well, you never posted about this.
yeah, and it was very, very scary. It was over 100-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh, my goodness.
It was very, very scary.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
And I missed some of the World Soccer games that were going on at the time.
I couldn't watch TV.
Unfortunately, the storm only lasted one day, and by
Well,
the
that's a
next
long
day
time.
it was okay. Yeah,
Wow, isn't that incredible?
yeah.
Yeah.
This
Ooh, I
is-
never knew about that. You didn't post about that.
This is in Amalfi, the town of Amalfi, and that's a beautiful church at the top of the hill.
And this is in Italy, correct?
This
yeah?
is in Italy. Amalfi Coast includes Amalfi, Positano, Procitano, and then up to Monte Chiaro and Sorrento. And this is Amalfi from the view of the port as you're coming in. As you can see, the people live in the cliffs,
Yeah.
and you can climb up to the top. And there's also a maze, kind of like a hamster trail type
Oh, isn't
maze.
that interesting?
And the people live in those
Oh, isn't that
little
interesting?
hallways all the way up the mountain.
Oh, isn't that incredible?
It's
Kind of
fantastic.
reminds me of pictures I've seen of Greece, you know, the same kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for you. And then how do you learn about all this? Do you do a lot of research before you arrive, or is most...
I do. I do a lot of research, and I try to find a nice place, usually through Airbnb if I don't have any friends staying there. And I like to go to places that I haven't been. I've been all over Italy, but I've never been to the Amalfi
Well,
Coast.
good for you. Good for you. Well, it's an education for all of us who follow you on social media. We're like, we're ready to hire you as a tour guide to take us all these places.
To be honest, I love sharing it with people because people write me notes. They
Oh,
either
yeah?
write messages or they write me private messages asking me, how did you get there? Where'd you go? What did you do this? And they love hearing some of
Oh,
the
yes.
adventures.
Well, you help us get out of our little box of New York City and
Yes.
travel, even if
Yes.
it's upstate. But Johnny Pye mentioned that you kind of broke his chains of, you know, fear of travel, and he's gone on seaplanes and up in Alaska and you
Yes,
know,
that's right.
helicopter rides
That's
and all that
right.
kind of stuff. He goes.
Yeah, and now I think he takes little vacations after his tours. He stays. which is what I love to do too.
Yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes it takes you to amazing places, and I've been very lucky that I get these adventures.
You had one, didn't you? Like you missed a bus or something? Do you remember?
Yeah,
I'm
it
sorry?
was in this was in Positano. I was staying in Monte Chiaro, and then I took a bus to Positano to see the town, and I was supposed to take a 4 o'clock bus back, but turns out that the bus stop there was no bus stop. It was literally just a bunch of people standing on the edge of a highway against the cliff. And so the cars are coming by, were all within a foot of you, whizzing by at full speed, and you're standing there. And then the bus showed up, and the bus was absolutely full, and there were 50 people waiting to go on.
Oh my goodness.
And there was no way to get on. So then some people started hiring taxis that were now charging $100 to the next town.
Wow.
But then there weren't enough taxis. I ended up going back into the town of Positano, and I asked the lady in
You
the
got to
shop.
walk back into town?
Right.
And how far is that?
It was very, very, very close, like 50 meters back.
Okay.
And I asked the lady in the shop that I had seen earlier, I said, do you know a place where I can rent a hotel room? And I thought maybe she's got an Airbnb or an extra, you know, an extra place. And she said, oh, the place next door belongs to the same owners. Let's ask them. So we went and asked, and they said, well, we only have one place. And it turns out it's the penthouse suite.
Oh, wow.
But I said, you know, I can't afford the penthouse suite. Thank you, but I can't afford it. And they said, well, how much can you afford? And I told them, I got this much. And they said, okay,
Wow.
we'll
isn't
give it
that
to you for
something?
one night because you're stranded. And I
Wow.
ended staying at the top of Positano with a fantastic view in a beautiful, beautiful room. And I had a balcony, and then I had another full-size balcony that's like pool-sized balcony all to myself. And they brought me breakfast in the morning.
That's incredible.
It was a beautiful night stay in Positano.
Make sure to point that out if we have it in your photos here. I don't know if we grabbed that yet.
I think, well, this is in Sorrento. This is around the Bay Area of Sorrento. The next one might be the one with Positano. Oh no, this is Sorrento also. This is
What a view.
a beautiful view in a hotel room in Sorrento. And I walked in, and the hotel was empty, and it was sunset, and I just sat there, and then this picture just presented itself to me.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
This is back in Monte Chiaro again. It's a beautiful sunsets, like I said, every day, and surrounded by olive trees and orange trees.
And this is just what you pass through on your walk up to the mountain. Is it, you know?
This is actually where I was staying. This was my
Wow.
view
Wow.
every day from where I was staying.
Good for you.
But we had the lady who owned it has a little balcony, and so I was able to go there. And I think the picture this is Positano coming up, the next picture, this one. So I did some hiking up, and this is actually 3,500 feet above Positano, and there's no railing, so if you fell 3,500 feet straight into the town of Positano.
That's difficult. I just saw an article where a woman in her 60s fell 10 feet upstate, you know, and she broke her ankle, and she had to have, you know, rangers come in and rescue her.
Oh my goodness, was she okay?
I think like maybe she broke her ankle or something, and she had a big cut on her nose.
Oh my
But
God.
they had to take her out, you know. She couldn't walk.
Wow.
And that was a 10-foot drop. So
Yeah.
3,500 years. Like,
3,500 feet. You're going to be flying for a moment, and then it's over.
forever.
Yeah, yeah. This is in the top of Monte Chiaro, again overlooking the bay.
Beautiful
And
pictures.
in the distance, you can't see it here, but in the distance is Naples and Pompeii, and it's just these beautiful walkways through the Italian countryside.
I bet it's difficult to come back to New York City after, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I thought, you know, about the possibility of moving there and staying there forever, but there's not a lot of touring and session work in the Amalfi Coast.
Maybe.
Yeah. And this is the hotel room in Positano where I stayed. So they served me breakfast on that little table.
This is the one, the penthouse?
Yes, and and that whole balcony was just for me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And the room looked like a painting. It was all bright colors and
Do you know
beautiful.
how much it would cost normally for a night?
It's over 500 a night. Yeah.
Ooh.
Here, this is the Grand Hotel in Sorrento. I didn't stay here, but it was a beautiful place that I could go hang out and have coffee and talk with people.
It's wonderful. Beautiful, beautiful.
This is another
pictures.
example.
Look
This
at
is actually Jamaica. I stayed at I did a DJ job in Jamaica.
They
And I
flew
stayed
you
at this
down
place.
to Jamaica to do
Yeah, it was a wedding.
Wow.
And then it was actually a place that was open, that was rented out, but it had a lot of open space. And I asked if I could stay, and they said it was okay. And I stayed here for a few days and doing yoga by the sea, and there was nobody there. It was just nature and me, and the beautiful sunsets.
And we have a picture of you doing
And
yoga
that's
by the
me
sea.
doing yoga by the ocean.
That's a very difficult pose, that tree pose.
I learned yoga years ago, so I try to stay up with my poses.
But you're positioning yourself over your kneecap. That's dangerous. Look, you're scuba diving.
I was scuba diving in Jamaica.
Good for you.
You know, years ago, I had a teacher named Carol Sutnam, and she hired me to write the music for her video. It was a yoga video.
Oh.
And it's up on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah.
And I wrote some of the music along with John McGann.
Oh, wonderful.
We did that together.
It's wonderful to do yoga with, percussion.
Yeah.
When you say you write the music, you mean percussion too, or?
I actually wrote the chords
Oh,
and
wow.
the music as well as played percussion. on
Oh,
it.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Any more pictures that we have?
I don't know
to
what else you
show?
have. I think that's it.
Is that it?
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. We heard the voice of God. Thanks, Rich, for helping us out in the control room.
Yeah,
That's
so
great.
those
Good
are
for
some of
you.
the things that I've been up to.
Wow, wonderful. So Italy, Portugal, Jamaica, I understand France,
France,
Netherlands.
England, spent some time in the Netherlands, in Haarlem. I went to Haarlem. I don't know if people know this, but the Haarlem here is named after Haarlem in the Netherlands.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Haarlem in the Netherlands is spelled with 2 A's, and it's the original Haarlem.
Oh, isn't that something?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
And then, so we came back, and then we went again, and this time I was in Sittard in the south, very close to Cologne, Germany.
Oh, isn't that something?
Yeah.
This was with Algeria
Yes,
as well?
this was
Because
with
it seems
Algeria.
like you've gone overseas twice with her.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a lot of traveling.
yeah.
That's a lot of traveling.
She wants to do some more. We're going to go back to England in October.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's really fabulous.
I think
Well,
we're doing 5, 6 shows around London.
Yeah, well, she's a top Latinx, I guess, I believe it.
Latinx, yes.
Latinx.
Yeah,
that's
that's
how it
like
is.
the new term, I guess.
Yes, male, female.
Cecilia's
Gender
a great,
neutral.
Yes, gender neutral.
Latinx. Okay, I didn't know. how to
And
pronounce it.
Cecilia's a great songwriter, great guitarist, great performer.
Yeah.
She writes all the music and she sings, and Winston plays bass, and I play drums. And it's a nice, close-knit group
Yeah, I've
together.
seen you guys perform at Joe's Pub.
That's right.
Yeah.
You were there.
I've been there a couple
Yeah.
times with you. Do you have any local gigs that people can come and see you?
Well, I just had one with Debbie Dean on Saturday, which went really well. We played by the river on 97th Street. But the next coming up is with Pamela Laws. I've been doing shows with Pamela Laws. And the next one is July 28th. I don't know the address, but it's going to be at a street party in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And I'll post that up on social media.
Okay.
within
Now,
the
she's
next
tied
week.
into Jack Petrozelli from the
Yes.
Fab Four?
That's right.
Yeah.
Jack
I've
is
been-
her producer.
Oh, okay. Because I've been following the Fab Four for, I don't know, 25 years.
Yeah.
I just saw a show of theirs in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been around for a long time.
Long time, yeah. I've been around since like year 3. So maybe I've been around 23 years, 24 years. But I've been a fan for a long time.
And Jack and I know each other for over 20 years.
And when I saw on social media that you were working together, I was like, oh my God, that's the Fab Four.
And Adam Bernstein's playing bass.
Uh-huh.
Pamela is playing acoustic guitar and singing.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing shows in Brooklyn, and we're going to do one more July 28th.
You performed with Laurie Anderson recently, too.
I did.
Right? I didn't see that show, but tell us about that.
Tiokasin Ghost Horse, a Native American flute player that I had produced his record. He called me up and he said, would I like to come to Brooklyn and play with Laurie Anderson?
How fabulous.
And so we played and we did a show, and I met her and she was very gracious. I didn't know what she wanted to do because we hadn't really prepared what we were going to do. So I thought, it's Laurie Anderson, let her guide the way and decide what we wanted to do. But she just said, Alex, I trust you, and you start, and I'll go with what you're doing. And it came out really beautiful. She had
You
an
like don't
incredible
learn
setup.
songs before a performance?
No, we didn't learn any songs for this performance. It was a
Oh my
it was
goodness.
a performance where she was talking about how she's working with chimpanzees in Florida and teaching them and allowing them to play music, play on musical instruments,
Oh, good heavens.
to see where that takes them, and then cataloging and documenting that. So she had a video of that, and she talked about what she was doing, and then we played some music, and it was really beautiful. I was really amazed at her setup, which had keyboards and violin, and it was all tied together with effects. And so she pretty much open to whatever comes to her mind that she wants to do.
So it's almost like a jazz
It wasn't really
performance,
jazz.
or-
It was more cinematic. It was more like a Peter Gabriel influenced kind of a setup. It was definitely more for like soundtrack and scoring type of thing.
Interesting.
It wasn't really like a traditional jazz.
Well, I'd really like to see a show like that if it comes up again.